And we are live. Welcome back with Murphy Mac to another episode of the Fitness Beginner Podcast, where we help you get started in your fitness journey. What is up, folks? Hope y'all having a great day. Y'all had a great weekend, and you're getting off to a great start so far. If you listen to this on Monday, we are 1 weekend to my backyard ultra prep. So we had my first week this week. It was pretty good. Legs were a little sore to begin with, but we feel good now. I got a rest day today, and I had a rest day Friday, so right back on track. So yeah, it's looking good. So far, we got another podcast episode for y'all today, and today's podcast topic is actually about. I got it from another podcast that I listened to this past week. It's another fitness podcast that I actually love. It's called Mind Pump. So if you've listened to any fitness podcast, you've probably heard of this one. You've probably listened to it before. It's very good. The dudes on there are really smart, very educational. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. And they had a podcast topic where they talked about some key movements, like functionalities, abilities that you lose as you age if you don't, kind of use them, if you don't practice them, if you don't keep doing them or training them. So that's what today's podcast topic is going to be about. So I had to give credit to them because this was actually their idea. But I really liked it, and I think it's very beneficial for most of us. And you've probably noticed yourself kind of losing some of these abilities already. So we're going to tell you how to, kind of overcome that, how to train them, how to make sure you're practicing them so you don't lose these abilities as you get older, as you age, because you will if you don't. Like, our bodies are 100%. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. That's a fact, no matter what you do. So that's what we're going to go over today. And we got seven functional movements that if you don't use them, you'll lose them if you're not training them. That's what we're going to go over today. So as we all know, like, fitness is not just about building muscle, losing fat. A lot of it is also about just maintaining our ability to move like we were designed to move, move like a normal human moves. You think of a baby, when they're born, they're very, very flexible. They can move in so many different ways. And then as you get older, you just can't do that no more. It's because we don't put ourselves in those positions anymore. We don't practice them, and your body stiffens up. So we want to be able to be as functional as we can. We want to be able to move in all the different planes and movement patterns that a human is supposed to be able to move in. And if you don't do that as you get older, you tend to kind of lose those abilities to do that. So we're going to work on, that's what we need to work on. And I'm bad about this. This is why I wanted to do this podcast, because I need to practice a lot of these too, because I don't do them either. I used to do them, but now I kind of got stuck in certain ways of things I do. So this podcast is talking to me too. So this is not just, I think everybody is going to learn something or benefit from this podcast today. So if you don't use these certain movement patterns, you're going to lose them eventually. And once they're gone, they're hard to get back. I'm not saying you can't get them back. You definitely can if you work on them. But once they're gone, they're going to be very hard to get back, and you have to work at them and practice them really hard to really get them back. So this is a very functional podcast episode today. So I'm actually excited to get into it. So number one, the first ability you will lose is overhead mobility. So what does that mean? Like, lifting your arms above your head and doing, like, everybody can pretty much lift their arms above their head, but you may not be able to lift them all the way above your head like you used to. You may not be able to reach up as far as you can. You may have a little bit of shoulder mobility that is tightened or not as functional there. So being able to raise your arms fully above your head with control, not just throwing them up over your head, but actually controlling them. This is going to require a lot of shoulder mobility. It's going to require some thoracic spine extension. So, and this is something you will lose. And you've probably noticed that as you got older, you probably can't reach as far above your head, or you can't lift as much, you can't lift as heavy above your head. And so reasons you'll lose this is just from sitting so much, from, bending over, texting, driving, sitting all the time, constantly hunched forward. So we don't, obviously, you're not supposed to hunch forward. So that'll lead to, stiffening your shoulders, your back. It leads to a tighter chest, like your chest will tighten up. Your back will become weaker in the upper back. So you don't want to, like, hunch over. You want to keep your shoulders back. You don't want your chest or your back to become weak. So this eventually turns into poor posture. Sorry, my thing just went off. Yeah, this eventually leads to poor posture, and we don't want that. So why does this matter? Well, because as a human, we do a lot of things above our head. You reach into your cabinet every day to get food out the cabinet. You, lift objects over your head. It's good for injury prevention. Like, the shoulder is a very complex joint. So you can get, pretty injured, and your shoulders are very easy to injure. So the more we can practice that mobility in your shoulders in every, plane, up, down, left, right, side to side. That's going to be good for you overall. So it's very important because like a lot of things we do over our head, like that's the one cool thing about a human is the shoulder joint. Like the shoulder joint is very, it's not unique to a human, but it's very there's not many animals out there that have shoulder joints as complex as ours. Like we can lift our arms above our heads. There's not many animals that can do that. Like think of any four-legged animal that runs on all fours. They can't lift their arms above their heads. They can't do it. Just the way their shoulder joints are shaped. Now, if you think of like a monkey or a kangaroo, like they have kind of similar shoulder joints like we do, and they can. But that's one thing that makes, a human kind of unique is we have that ability to reach in all the different angles. We can reach above our head, behind our bodies, in front of our bodies, down beside our bodies. That's what makes us very functional, is we can do things like that. So we don't want to lose those. So some ways you can train this shoulder mobility, anything above your head, is obviously any kind of overhead press. So if you're in the gym, you can do, dumbbell presses above your head. You can do barbell presses above your head. You can use, the cable machines. Any overhead press is going to be good for you. You can do dead hangs from a pull-up bar. So this is going to be good to, loosen up a lot of those muscles in your back and in your shoulders. So a dead hang is just when you grab a pull-up bar or any kind of bar and just hang from it. Like literally just let all your muscles go limp and just hang from the bar and just let your spine decompress, loosen up the shoulders. That's very good. And actually dead hangs feel good too. Like when you get done doing a dead hang, when you get done, like you feel kind of loosened up, you feel good. So yeah, I definitely recommend trying them. I do them at the gym sometimes as well, but that's one way you can do that. Wall slides. So like, that's like when it's kind of hard to explain, but you're, rubbing your arms like across the wall. You're doing circular motions. I don't know. It's hard to explain. You just have to look that one up. But it's good for like practicing your shoulder mobility. And then, some foam rollers like on your back. Use a foam roller on your back. That'll help loosen up your back and your spine and things like that. So that's going to be good also for your shoulders, and to really reach above your head. So really just want to be, working out the shoulders. And then obviously just in your day-to-day life, you do things above your head. So like, like I said, reaching to get things out of the cabinet or anything over your head. So that's one thing you'll lose. You probably notice your shoulders aren't as flexible as they used to be. So we just got to make sure we're training those because that's one you definitely don't want to lose. Number 2 is squatting. So you may lose the ability to squat. And when I mean squat, like I mean squat, like deep squats, like all the way down, like almost like sitting down in a squat like you used to when you were a kid. Most of you probably can't sit in a squat anymore just because it's not comfortable or it hurts or you can't get that low physically. So you will lose the ability to squat. Like you'll lose that deep hip, extension, the knee and ankle flexion, like you'll lose that. And a squat's like a fundamental human, like a resting position. As you were a kid, you probably sat in a squat all the time. Like when you're just sitting there, like sometimes you'll take a knee or, sit down on the ground. Instead, you would just sit in a squat. You probably don't do that anymore because it kind of hurts for some people and you have to be pretty flexible to do it. So you'll definitely lose this ability. And the reason you lose this ability is sitting in chairs. So chairs will tighten your hips up, tighten your ankles up. You'll lose that mobility in them. And you don't have to squat so far. Like when you sit in a chair, you're barely squatting. Like you're squatting down just enough to sit in the chair, and then you stand back up. So you lose that whole bottom range of motion, like that you would normally go lower than a chair. Like you lose that whole range of motion. So that's why you lose the ability to squat. And I practice this one a lot at the gym. When I do my actual like barbell squats, I get as low as I can. Like I literally try to touch the back of my legs, like with my butt. Like I try to get all the way down to the ground just for this reason. So I don't lose this ability to squat, because once you lose it, it's going to be very hard to get it back. And squatting is very important for everyday life. Like if you want to get up off the ground, you got to be able to get like in a squat position to get up off the ground. If you want to, maybe use the bathroom, certain parts of the world, when they use the bathroom, they may need to squat a little lower. Also, and then just maintaining your own like independence. So if you can't really squat or get up off the ground, you're going to need assistance. You're going to need help. And it's not a good thing. You don't want to rely on other people to help you get up. Like if you fall or something, you need to be able to get up off the ground, and being able to squat is going to help with this. So ways you can train this: body weight squats. That's the best way to do it. Just put yourself in that position more often. Like you probably don't get in a squat normally every day if you don't have to. Like if you don't have to bend down for some reason, you're probably not going to do that. So just force yourself to do some squats just randomly throughout the day. That's what I would do, body weight squats. goblet squats. That's when you like hold a weight in front of you and then squat. So that's like if you want to train it with some weights. Just sit in a deep squat position while you're, watching TV in between sets while you're working out. I mean, I don't know, whatever. If you're at work, whatever, you can just sit in that deep squat position. And the more you can do this, the better. Just randomly throughout the day, just squat down, hold that position for a while, do a couple reps if you have to, or just do it once, see how long you can hold it. And then also some ankle mobility drills. You'll lose ankle mobility just from not, stretching your ankles out like you normally would. So any kind of ankle mobility, like workouts or stretches, things like that, is going to help with this squat as well. Number 3, the next one you will lose is running. You'll lose the ability to run. Running takes a little bit of coordination and a little bit of endurance together. So if we're not practicing these things, we will lose them. People just stop sprinting. They stop running after, when they get older, they quit playing sports. They're not running as much. They're definitely not sprinting. And they may be a little scared of injuring themselves, or it may cause a little bit of discomfort when you run. So this is reasons people don't do it. So then eventually you just kind of lose that ability to do it. So why does running matter? One, it's good for your cardiovascular health. So it's good for conditioning, obviously. I think we all know that. And then also another thing that you don't really think about is your ability to react quickly. So like if there's ever an emergency, you need to be able to react quickly. And a lot of times that involves running. So like that's just like general life human ability to like react. So like if anything ever happens, like your house catches on fire, boom, you got to react, you got to run. You're not just going to walk around, or if an emergency happens, like, I don't know, somebody gets in a wreck or something, like, knock on wood. If it's like, you may have to get out and run to them and help them. Or if somebody falls, you may have to, you react. So it's just good to be able to run. So so you don't injure yourself. And 2, in case of an emergency, like if you're in the woods and an animal starts chasing you, you may have to start running. I know it's not going to happen very often, but that one time it does happen, you need to be able to get away. Or if like, I don't know, if you're out somewhere and gunshots start popping off or something, you may have to run. So you just need to stay ready. You got to be ready. So it'd be a good idea to know and be able to run efficiently. So yeah, it's just a good natural human reaction is why I would say you need to do it. But also it's good for working out. If you like to run, I like to run. It's good for that too. So some easy ways to train it. Obviously, just going for a jog, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. That's going to be good for you. You could even do some sprint intervals. So like doing some sprints, some short little bursts of running. That's going to be good, especially for those emergency things I was talking about. You may have to hit a quick sprint real quick. You could also join a run club. That's going to be good. I'll hold you accountable. There's going to be people there who can hold you accountable. So that's going to be a good one for. I like to, if you're in Mobile and you want to come to a run club, every Saturday, 7:30, we meet downtown called Casual Athlete Run Club. Hit me up and I'll give you some more details if y'all want to come. And then just gradually progress this over time. Like you may not be able to run, you're probably not going to be able to run a mile when you first start, but like try to work yourself up to a mile and then maybe keep adding, just gradually progress over time. This is going to help you, one, build more endurance. It's going to help you build up you're going to be less injury prone the more you run because like your muscles are going to build up in your legs. So you'll be able to you'll have less risk of injury if you were to ever have to run. So it's just good for, overall just health and reaction and any emergency situation you can be able to run. So yeah, that's what I would say running, number 3. Number 4, kind of along the same idea as running, and that's jumping. So you think about it. When's the last time you just jumped? Like when's the last time you jumped? Probably can't even remember the last time you jumped because it's probably been so long. Because we just don't, if you're not playing a sport or something like that, you don't really need to jump. Like you don't do it very often. But it's a good thing to know how to do. It's a good thing to be able to do for those, like I said, for those emergencies or when something happens, you're able to jump. So, yeah, this is something you'll definitely lose. You kind of quit doing like explosive things if you don't, train it. If you're not working out for any kind of jumping or whatever, if you're not playing a sport, you're probably not jumping very often. So it's going to lead to like a loss of power. Like you're not gonna be able to generate power as much if you're not jumping, and it's going to lead to less bone density and things like that if you're not putting yourself through these kind of workouts, I guess, because jumping's kind of like a little workout in itself. So you will lose it over time, the ability to jump, or you probably still be able to jump, but when you do have to jump that one time, you're probably going to hurt yourself. You're probably going to injure yourself. So we don't want that to happen. So it's probably good to practice it. And this is something I need to do. I used to jump a lot. I used to do box jumps at the gym all the time. But for some reason, I just quit doing them, and I don't ever do them no more. I do still run, so I still got that one in the bag. And I do a lot of overhead lifts, so I still got the overhead in the bag. And then squatting, I do that. I do deep squats when I squat. So I'm good on that one. But this one I'm not good on. Jumping, I need to practice. I need to do some, one-legged jumps. I need to do some box jumps. I need to add these back into my training because I don't do them anymore. And it's probably good for your knees and for your ankles because you're landing, all your body weight's landing on them. So it's good to train these because you will injure yourself if you ever had to jump for any reason. So it's good to kind of keep those muscles, built up in your knees and your ankles and your legs. So yeah, that's a good one. So easy ways to train this. I just mentioned box jumps. That's a good one. Jump rope is also a good one. I used to do jump ropes a lot too, just kind of as a warm up. I don't ever really jump rope anymore either, but I probably should keep doing that. You could do broad jumps or burpee broad jumps. Those are good ones. That's just where you jump as far out in front of you as far as you can. And then even just doing like some small hops just consistently, like throughout the day, you could just do kind of some small like hops, even kind of like a jump rope. With a jump rope, you don't jump too high. You're just kind of doing like some little hops or some skips. That's probably good for you too. So I would just practice that throughout the day as you can. So that's number 4, jumping. Probably hadn't jumped in a while, so that's a good one to make sure you're practicing or you'll lose the ability to jump. Number 5, sitting mobility. And when I say sitting, I don't mean like sitting in a chair. I mean sitting, like getting up and down. So and more specifically, sitting on the ground. Like sitting on the ground and standing back up off of the ground without assistance. So this is kind of similar to the squatting one, but it's I really prefer to like sitting on the ground because think about it, when's the last time you sat on the ground? Probably been a while because we just don't sit on the ground. We have chairs or benches or something to sit on everywhere we go. You don't get up on and off the ground. And then think about this: if you were to sit on the ground, could you stand up without any assistance? Like, could you stand up without using your hands? Like, could you just stand up by yourself? You probably can't. And honestly, this one's hard. Like, I've tried to do this before. Try to lay all the way down your back and then get up off the ground without using your hands at all. It's very hard. Because if for a kid, super easy. They can do it no problem. But as you get older and you get less flexible and you lose a lot of these mobilities, these functions, then it gets harder. So this is something you should practice. Getting on and up and off the ground by yourself with no assistance. This is something you need to practice. And we just lose this because we over rely on chairs. We sit down everywhere we go. Couches. We seek comfort everywhere we go. So like sitting down on the floor, it's not very comfortable. So we need to practice this more often. You're gonna lose. You have lack of hip mobility, and that's a lot of the reasons why you can't do this. And also core strength as well. Core is a big one for this one as well. Standing up, balanced by yourself is because you lose a lot of your core strength. So this one is a cool one because it's actually kind of an indicator of longevity. If you can get up and off the ground by yourself, it apparently there's some like research out there. I haven't studied it myself, but apparently there's research out there that says if you can get up and down by yourself, then it leads to longevity. And that makes sense because you're more independent. You're less dependent on other people because you can do things on your own. So that's a good thing to have. So if you lose the mobility, if you lose, being able to get up and down by yourself, then you kind of lose a little bit of independence. So we don't want that to happen. We want to be able to do this as long as possible, as long as we can. So how to train it? Sit on the floor more often. Like instead of sitting on your couch, sit on the floor and watch TV, or sit on the floor and maybe eat. Some people even eat on the floor. Like a lot of cultures will eat on the floor. You could do that. You could practice standing up without your hands. So do like a Turkish get up. You ever heard of a Turkish get up? It's where you pretty much lay on your back and you try to stand up with no assistance. So, and a lot of times they do it with a weight in their hand. So think like a kettlebell. They'll hold a kettlebell in one arm and they'll try to raise it up above their head and do that. So that's a good thing you can do. And then yoga is a good one. It's like any kind of mobility, stretching, yoga type movements. That's all going to be good for helping you be more mobile and getting up and down like that. So number 6 is balance. So you will lose your balance, your stability and your control of your body. You'll start to lose this as you age. And just from having a sedentary lifestyle, the more sedentary we are, the more, kind of balance we lose. You lose a lot of that unilateral movement. So like think of like single leg or single arm training. So we lack a lot of that unilateral kind of strength on each side. We kind of get dependent on our dominant side. Like if you're right-handed, you may be more dependent on your right side than your left side. So this matters because it's going to help prevent falls. As we get older, you hear a lot of times of older people falling and then they can't get up. So as you age, this becomes a major risk. Like falling is a major risk. As you're younger, you probably don't think much about falling because if you do, you can just get right back up. But older people, they can't get back up a lot of the times because they lose this ability they lose their balance, so then they fall, but then they can't get back up, so they're losing that, sitting and squatting mobility. So we want to practice this because it improves our coordination. It almost like athleticism. It improves our athleticism. So how to train this? Do a lot of unilateral work. So single leg exercises, lunges, Romanian deadlifts, things like that. Stand on. You could even do like little tricks throughout your day, like when you're brushing your teeth, just stand on one leg. Practice it. Stand on one leg, brush your teeth. Then maybe switch arms, like brush your teeth with your left arm, and stand on the other leg. And so that way you're practicing your balance and kind of like your coordination a little bit because you're using your opposite hand to brush your teeth. You can do things like that. They also make like balance boards, any kind of unstable surface. Think of like uneven terrain. Like if you like to run in like on trails and things, there's a lot of uneven terrain. So you can run on these things. There's all kinds of little balance techniques you can use to practice your balance. So that's a big one. Balance is huge. Also core. Working your core helps a lot with your balance as well because your core kind of stabilizes everything. So any kind of ab exercises is going to help with that as well. It's going to help your core be more stable. So we want to practice that. And then number 7 leads us to the last one. And this one's kind of a fun one. You don't really necessarily need this one, but I like to throw this one in there because it is something that you will lose. And that's the ability to throw in like a ball or anything like that. So you lose this because you just don't do it. As we get older, we don't do it. I used to play baseball, so I could throw a baseball no problem. But now that I've gotten older and I don't play baseball, I can't tell you the last time I've thrown something. I can't remember. Like I don't ever throw anything. And that's just because we stopped doing it. We don't play sports anymore, so we stopped thinking about it. So we don't do it. But also, we just kind of also we're losing coordination as well as we get older. So that's kind of it takes a little coordination to be able to throw. If you don't believe me, watch somebody that grew up not playing sports. Try to get them to throw a baseball or throw a football. You can definitely tell they're not coordinated when it comes to it. So you will lose that ability if you don't do it. So why it matters is because throwing, believe it or not, actually helps keep your shoulders kind of healthy and mobile because you're putting it in those weird positions. You're stretching it. Now, I'm not saying like throwing like an MLB pitcher does with a 100-mile-per-hour fastball. That's probably not so healthy for your shoulder. But just doing a little light, shoulder throwing, like shoulder stretches, mobility workouts, throwing, it's going to be good to keep your shoulder loose and kind of keep those muscles strong, the tendons in there strong and healthy. And it also helps you maintain any kind of rotational strength, like any side-to-side stuff, any like spine health and things like that. Any kind of rotation is going to be good for you. So that's why it matters. And so some easy ways to train this is just to get outside and throw a baseball around, throw a football around, maybe even a medicine ball. You can throw that around. Any kind of rotational like workouts, any kind of, you can think of like the med ball slams you do when you do them, like you throw them at the wall, any kind of rotation you do. If you play recreational sports like this, you're probably going to do some kind of throwing. Like if you pick up softball, basketball, football, anything like that, you're probably going to be throwing a little bit. So that's going to be good for you. Or just casually throwing in the yard. If you have kids, get out there, throw the baseball with them, football, whatever sport they play. It can be a good way to kind of practice this. This is something I probably need to do too. I can't tell you the last time I threw something. I need to get out there and do it. Just if you played, if you hadn't played ball in a while and you throw, the next day your arm's going to be sore. Like your shoulders are going to be sore, and that's for this reason, because you haven't done it in a while and you hadn't used those muscles and you hadn't put your arm in that position in a while. So when you go out there and do it, it's going to lead to your muscles getting sore because you're using your muscles in ways that you hadn't used them in a long time. So it leads to it being sore. If you ever like started coaching your kids' baseball team or something and you got out there and started throwing, messing around, you probably was sore the next day. And that's because you just hadn't used them in a long time. So yeah, number 7 is throwing. You'll lose that ability to throw if you don't do it, if you don't practice it over and over again. And I'm not saying you have to do these things every day, but it would be good to try them, at least once or twice a week to keep practicing these things. And throwing, that's obviously just a fun one. You don't necessarily have to do that. But all the other ones I would say you need to be doing at least once a week, if not more than that. So you need to be doing any kind of overhead lifts, overhead stretches, things like that. You need to be squatting. You need to be running. I mean, you don't necessarily need to be running, but at least walking, making sure you don't lose that ability, to really walk and stretch, things like that. Jumping, this is a good one just for overall functionality, being able to jump, to bend down, to jump up. You're practicing your power, your explosiveness. You're practicing, you're building up those muscles in your knees and your legs and ankles, things like that. Sitting mobility, getting up and down off the ground. This is obviously going to be a good one for everybody. And then, 6, balance. If you can't balance, then you're going to struggle doing everything. So you need to be able to balance. So yeah, Those are all some good ones. So some key takeaways for today's episode is just your body is a machine that lives by the rule, use it or lose it. So if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And that's just kind of how our bodies work. So these 7 movements we just talked about, these are kind of fundamental human movements. They're not really advanced fitness movements. Like there's nothing, none of these are just advanced. They're all pretty basic and pretty fundamental that we should be able to do. A lot of us, when we get in the gym, we train a lot for aesthetics, which is kind of what I do. So I'm guilty of this. We train a lot of aesthetic type training. We do a lot of that, but we ignore functional training. We ignore, just functionality as everyday humans that we need to practice in our everyday, like in our training routines. And we need to be throwing some functional lifts in there, some functional movements. And for these, you don't even have to lift no weights. Like a lot of these functional things you need to be doing, or could just be body weight. Like the jumping, you just need body weight. Squatting, you can just do body weight. All the stretching, you can do a body weight, a lot of it. So we need to start incorporating some functionality, start incorporating some unilateral stuff into your training sessions, because that's going to be good, to balance both sides out. Like if you really depend on your dominant side, well, you need to train your other side to kind of help balance things out. So when you do those unilateral lifts, that's going to help a lot for, kind of balancing your body out a lot when it comes to, having one side being stronger than the other. So we want to be strong, we want to be capable, and we want to be independent. Like we don't want to have to lean on other people to help us do our everyday basic movements and things. And I know as you get older, like really old, like you're probably gonna need some help doing these things. But the longer you can practice these, and the longer you can kind of keep these in your routine, the better it's gonna be for you. Like the longer you're gonna be able to keep doing simple things like squatting, getting up off the ground, things like that. It's gonna be key, especially as you age. So if you're not doing any of these, start by doing like 1 or 2 of these. I challenge y'all to do these this week. Do 1 or 2, maybe even 3 of these this week in your training routine. And then try to fit a day or 2, or maybe just pick one each day. Like do a different one each day, each one of your training days. Like if you train 3 days a week, pick 3 different, kind of functional mobility movements, and just add one in each of your workouts. Or however many workouts you do a week, try to add one in your workout and start practicing it. I know I'm going to try to add jumping in mine. That's going to be my key. My one is jumping. I'm going to start doing some box jumps again. I used to do this a lot. I need to practice them again. So I'm going to add jumping in. I would say throwing, but I just don't have nobody to throw with. If I had somebody to throw with, I would get out in the yard and throw a baseball in a heartbeat. Like that's fun. I enjoy doing that. I used to love doing that as a kid, but it's kind of hard when you don't have nobody to throw with. So I may not be doing that one. But yeah, I think I'm going to add jumping back into, I'm going to try to do them at least once a week in my routine. Try to add some box jumps back in there, because that's going to be good, just so I don't lose that ability to do that. Because I'm already doing a lot of the other ones that we talked about. So that's going to be the one I pick. So I'll challenge y'all. Do 1, 2, maybe even 3 of these. To put them in your routine. Try them out so we don't lose them, because we want to stay functional. We want to stay mobile as we get older. So the more we can do this, the longer we can do this, the better it's going to be for us in the long term. So yeah, that's all I got for y'all today. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Share the podcast with somebody. Like it, subscribe, comment, do all the good social media things as y'all do. I appreciate it. We're coming up on episode 200 very soon. This was episode 194. So we're going to be there before long, and that's going to be a super cool episode. I don't have anything planned for it yet. If you got any good ideas, let me know. I think we got to come up with something cool to do for the 200th episode. We'll see. But yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great week. Go out there and achieve your goals. Do big things. All that. I believe in y'all, so you should believe in yourself. Yeah, go get it. Y'all have a great day. Peace, love, protein. We out.